Hi. Uh, Thank you for having me here. I'll try to be quick as I assume we have eaten up 10 more minutes of the previous presentation actually. But just quickly, I'm Puneet Aggarwal. I think you've had an introduction, but I think very exciting topic which was brought in, and I think that's the probably need of the hour when we are specifically talking about auto EV and the tech vision around it actually. So what's happening? The demand for mobility is rising, and I'm specifically going to put in the current context in terms of what. Our energy infrastructure was primarily designed basis the consumption at the home and at the enterprises, but the overall mobility requirement in India has surpassed the total number of houses. And the consumption in a house and vehicle has kind of become equivalent. So total number of vehicles have actually increased, and it's way much more than actually your total number of households. And the rate at which it's increasing is also significantly high. India is anyways third largest automotive manufacturer. In two-wheelers, we are the largest as well. So that number is significantly increasing. And overall landscape of mobility actually started from Gaganyaan at the time of, Satyug, or you can say, Ramji flew, and now it's a vicious cycle. We had bullock cart, horse cart, other vehicles, and now it's coming back to autonomous vehicle and flying taxis, which we've been talking. So it's again happening. But one of the movement which is happening is that everything is moving sustainable. That's happening across the world in terms of overall sustainable transportation, which we're seeing happening. And primarily one of the leapfrogging areas is actually EV, which is there, though there are other areas of sustainability which have been considered as well. So there's a significant movement which is happening. In considering the current context, where does EV stand? And what are the main pillars for EV which is happening, or e-mobility which is primarily happening? There are three of them. There are vehicles, their energy infrastructure, and their charging infrastructure. Unfortunately or fortunately both, is that they are still individual pieces, and there are individual regulatory bodies and there are individual players who are working in their own realm right now. We have had too many advancements, but individually each one of them. That's where it is. I'll just point out in the current landscape what's happened. Where do we stand today? EVs, that's still considered as the energy consuming entity rather than actually playing an active role or participant in the overall energy ecosystem which is there. There's a lot of resource crunch, specifically when it comes to lithium and few other things. So battery scarcity and how are we going to manufacture all of these for a scale is one of the challenges. A lot of innovation is happening on the vehicle side of it, and rightly so as well. Whether what kind of range are we going to get, how more performance, more optimization is going to happen in the EV or a vehicle as such, whether it is two-wheeler, three-wheeler, or a four-wheeler as well. And is EV really completely green? We've done it. We're not consuming fossil fuel here, but the power consumption is still happening via fossil fuels. Actually, we're still charging is using EV. So is it really green actually? Energy infra, as I said, the grid was designed in a certain fashion with certain assumption. The rate at which EV is increasing is our energy infrastructure increasing actually. The demand fluctuation are increasing. Specifically in mobility ecosystems, there have been integration from distributed energy resources, whether the renewable has been integrated or not. Starting both from generation to transmission, distribution, consumption, it's still a big gap which is there, which needs to be improved and brought in actually today from overall energy and mobility energy perspective as well. So I think that's one of the things which is happening as we speak today as well. A lot of the places where you say charging infrastructure, people say that there's no transformer there or there's no power line there. How do we put it? Because we want it to be on all highways, etc. But is there a demand enough? Is there an infrastructure enough? I think that has to go hand in hand actually. Charging infra, I think we have come a long way as we speak, but still there are a lot of challenges which are there. Interoperability issue, dynamic load management, time of day, time of use, all of those challenges have been there. demand response, what are the insights, what are really people charging at. For example, at maximum charging is happening at the destination, which is your home and office space. But what are the timings? Is it just, should we say that it's at night, it's at the morning? Or what are the real insights around it, which is happening as we speak, actually? So I think some of those things is very important. And this requires both on the hardware sides and platform sides and the combination of things. But we still have gone way far ahead, specifically in Indian context. The infrastructure is still increasing. We still have a way to go, and I think some of the pillars need to be taken care of. So what do we need? I think we need a unified synergy between these three ecosystems of the play. And linking it back, why we need to have a unified view that all of these things, three parts, which are the main pillars of the mobility energy ecosystems, have to go hand in hand. They would need to work hand in hand. So what do they need to be? They need to be intelligent, all of them. Vehicle need to understand and see, how are they operating. Same is energy infrastructure and same is your charging infrastructure as well. They have to be interoperable, all of them actually. So, I can't have proprietary systems working in one place versus other place actually. And most important is they need to be integrated as well. Otherwise, it's going to be a real challenge that I do have a charging infrastructure. I do have a vehicle which wants to go get it charged, but apparently there's no power there actually. How do I know it? Or if I want to increase the infrastructure, do I have enough power, and whether that backward has been integrated? How will it feel like that I want to charge my EV and I can charge my EV, but there's no power at home as well. So I think that upgradation and all those things would have to go hand in hand. That this is the overall consumption from mobility perspective, this is the infrastructure upgrade, and this is the overall energy infrastructure and charging upgrade which needs to happen actually. So hence, what is needed actually? I think that's primarily needed is a complete integrated, infrastructure or unified energy architecture which needs to happen in place, where you can integrate today's grid, whether it is public, private discoms, there's charging infrastructure play. A lot of renewable integrations needs to happen. I think a lot of initiative by the government which is happening, that needs to happen, the seamless integration backwards to the grid, whether home or industry or destination, all of these places needs to happen. So all of these needs to be integrated in terms of that they are talking. The existing infrastructure needs to be upgraded, whether it is home inverters or energy meters or battery storage, etc. All of them have to talk to each other actually, and that's the need. If not at the physical infrastructure level, I think a layer on top of it in terms of digital has to be taken care. Otherwise, we will have challenges if all of them are individually working from that perspective. Whether this unified synergy or unified architecture enables these, or these things are going to enable the unified architecture, I think it has to go hand in hand, right? I think, so touch basing on some of these is vehicle to grid. So vehicle does not just become a consuming entity, it is not just the sink of it can also become a source of it, that if you don't have a power, or there is a high charge at certain time, which is there, and I can charge my battery on the, a less pricey structure, at least I can, use it to charge it back or light my house using that power from the battery. Traditional lead acid batteries are anyways getting converted to lithium ion as well. So can there be a common source which can power my vehicle but can also power my home actually? That can be enabled, but the only thing is I will only be able to use if there is a unified architecture in a total optimized and efficient manner actually. The grid stability and load balancing, because if I'm drawing too much power, but can I use it back from the grid to the house? I think that becomes important as well actually for us. And the infrastructure will take time to upgrade, so I'm future-proofing it that it can upgrade at its own pace while I can still utilize the existing infrastructure which is going at very high rate today actually. Same for smart charging as well. I think a lot of dynamic load management that infrastructure can support, but what is the load sanctioned and what is the load available for me which is there. The time of use, a lot of the cost economics which comes into the smart charging or EV spaces, that can I really integrate it backwards based on the time of use, or when there is a too much demand or peak demand which is happening, so demand response system can happen. The third component which has to happen is renewable, that we really need to become true green actually, right? Otherwise, we'll still be using fossil fuels even if we put a lot of EVs on the ground. It has to integrate backwards, then that power needs to come in so that we can really say that we have become true renewable and sustainable in overall nature, actually. What do we do, actually, right? I think I just brought in the perspective that what needs to happen, what needs. We as a JIO things actually play in various spaces, primarily at the platform level, different offerings which are interoperable, works with each other, starting from connectivity to hardware to platforms, where the energy can talk to charging infrastructure can talk to EV, and vice versa as well. These are few a la carte options which are there, so you can either pick and choose each one of them, but they all have the common basis and themes, so all of them can work together individually as well as a combined, unified manner as well. So all of this information can be made available not only to the larger organizations as well, but also to government in general too, actually. And we enable that today as we speak, actually. And that's where thank you is. I hope I was sufficient on time. And happy to take any questions and answers, actually. There is a part of our group company which actually sets up the charging stations as well. We're primarily as a platform organization, we provide platform and connectivity, that's where we anchor. And I think everything has to be connected for integrated purposes. If anybody needs hardware for that, we do provide hardware. Whether it is your complete software-defined vehicle, complete connected automotive platform, whether for fleets or for shared or for automotive OEMs as well. We do complete end-to-end energy management. We are managing today millions of energy data and energy monitoring solutions which we are doing today in the market. We're powering a lot of vehicles today with the overall connected vehicle solutions which are there, ingesting amount terabytes of data on daily basis as we speak from these individual entities as well. So it's an end-to-end offering, it's an end-to-end solution which we are giving. But we work with the infrastructure player. This part of our organization, we're not the infrastructure organization. We are primarily a platform organization and catering to different stakeholders, so different personas, different platforms, different applications which are there, actually.
Hello. Yeah.
Working towards the wireless charging in India.
So that's a very good concept. Are we working? I think a lot of infrastructure upgrade has to happen. Look, it took some time, specifically in mobile ecosystem also, if you see, it's still a very small percentage of mobile phones which are wireless charging enabled, actually. There is an aspiration to actually have a wireless charging, specifically either at home and in your destination charging, where it can be enabled. And there are a few experiments which have been done globally around it. How can it be enabled? I think it requires a lot of physical infrastructure changes, a lot of architecture changes in the vehicle as well, and also the impact of that overall in terms of your EMI, EMC, and all of those things, actually.
When do you think in India we will start doing this like?
Sir, I think I'll just answer that. When do I think? It doesn't really matter on what I think. India has always been known leapfrogging in various technologies which have been there. So if you really ask me what is the benchmark, I think there's no benchmark, right? I mean, it can happen as soon as 2 years, 3 years time frame. We'll have some setups which will be done. But infrastructure at large, overall upgrade will take some time, because retrofitting takes time. I think what will happen is all the new places which will start happening, if the technology is available, if that is available at the affordable points, then actually it will start happening at newer places. Retrofitting will still take time, actually, and I think it'll be some time away for us.
Sir, if I add to your question, sir. Hello? Yeah. So I think wireless charging is actually one. When will it happen in India? I think probably, in our generation we have to see that. So it's particularly for EV vehicles, I am not sure. Even for phones itself, it is yet to happen. I think you are going to touch upon. I think the fourth speaker, he is going to actually talk about the wireless charging or wireless testing.
Great. We'd love to hear.
Just to one more. You have one more question?
Yeah, I think there's somebody asking question, actually.
Okay.
Hi. Hello. My question is on this vehicle to grid. Every time in yesterday's speakers, and you also spoke about it, See, in the present scenario, 70% of our energy is from fossil fuels, and that is where the charging is taking place. Maybe in the coming years, it is going to increase. How relevant it is now, vehicle to grid concept, as a concept, it can be implemented maybe after 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. How relevant and how practicable it is now, vehicle to grid?
So if you really ask me, look, if you abstract it out, when you say how much practical it is, it's practical today as well. What do you really need actually? If we just boil it down and split it and go to a level below it, what does it really need? You need a source of energy, which is energy storage, battery, which is there, right? You need a bidirectional inverter, which is there, which can either charge your vehicle or can consume power from there as well. And then there is a load actually, right? So if you see all those components exist today, the only thing is that you have to upgrade this infrastructure. How much practical? Is there a need? 100% there is a need. Because if I'm consuming power at certain place way too higher, do I need to consume that power there? Per capita consumption of about there are 1500, units which gets consumed per capita, or per household, it's about 3 kilowatt, 4 kilowatt load, which is standard, which is there. And that's what your car supports as well. That's what your two-wheeler supports today as well. So can I use that battery asset if I'm buying today? Can that be used to power my house? 100% it can be powered. The only thing is, in Indian context, when you say it practicals, I think it's also boils down to whether economies of scale are enough today, and whether all these three players are working together to get it done. Because today, when I need a power from my house or for my grid, I only am talking to a utility guy for a discom guy. I don't talk to my EV guy that can you power it for my house actually. That question as a consumer we're not asking actually. Now, but that need will arise once I say that my total consumption from my EVs today itself is about 140 million units a day. If I start charging them every day. By 2030, I'll be consuming about 140 billion units a day from my EVs actually. Is my grid even enabled for that? And those many units, if it's stored in the battery, can I use them if I'm not driving actually? On an average, apart from delivery people, on an average, how much vehicle do we drive? It's a couple of hours in a day actually. But I have a fully storage built unit lying there actually. Can I still use that? It's just an infrastructure, right? I mean, so I can still use it. So it's very well practical. You might see that it just leapfrog significantly high will start happening actually, and it just changes the landscape. Is that needed? 100% it's needed, but it will happen. And I think the theme of the topic, which also was there, is it's needed from, it's unified view needs to happen. Because if individually start charging, but my grid is not ready to take that power back from vehicle, it doesn't make sense. I was still, I think, upgrading in that from solar sense that I take a power from solar, net metering happens, and from net metering I can give back to the grid. I think those things are still in shape and still taking shape so that it can be scaled up. We will see that soon happening. Once that happens, I think bringing it from EV is going to be just, just enabling as another storage piece.
Thank you.
Well, my question is again unified view. So you have I have seen that particular picture where grid is there, and below that we have a DC charger. Have you installed anywhere and experienced this? And also the bidirectional is yet to come or already there in the market?
They're already there. There are a few pilots which are there. We're already working with few infrastructure providers who are doing these things. Having said that, the two things of your question, there is a DC charger, there is a grid or a meter monitoring that how much energy you are consuming, and dynamic load management, those things are already in place. So that we support in our platforms today as well, that what is your overall energy consumption from grid perspective which is happening, how much of your charges are consuming, how much your vehicle load is there, and whether that whole path is actually optimized for it. And can I make it smart in terms of you should charge much more at this hour rather than this hour actually. I think those things are already integrated. We are doing those work today actually as we speak.
Where it is installed, can you just tell me the
There are
place?
certain parts I think we can connect and I can share more details with you separately.
All right. I'm Meghana
Nice to meet you.
from Snyder Electric.
Oh,
I'm
great.
working into e-mobility sector itself.
Hello, yeah, Puneet, I'm Sriram, working for Inteva Products, Automotive Private Limited. So one question, because charging density is increasing, as well as people are expecting more range as well. So two side expectations are increasing. Now we are calling vehicle to grid charging and other systems basically. So what do you see challenges in these scenarios whether you want to go for some renewable energy directly on go. Vehicle to grid is still there, but any other options you are thinking of?
So are you saying for more range? Look, that's where I'm saying the two components. All automotive manufacturers are doing amazing work from range perspective, because that's first thing which comes to mind of a consumer. What is the mileage? Kitna deti hai gaadi, right? That's a standard question which all of us have actually, right? So hence everybody is focusing, let's solve that problem, which means that how much battery power I would have. But as I said, how much vehicle do you drive in a day? I'm leaving aside the fleet and delivery guys who want to optimize on their assets which are there, and they want to do multiple deliveries. That's a separate story altogether. But as a consumer, which is the larger proportion also still left, who will move to EV actually. So the total amount of driving which they are doing is less. When they drive, they want to move fast, they want to go far actually. So that's very true. But apart from that, that infrastructure is lying idle. So how do I utilize that? That's the important part. That is one. Second, renewable 100%, that has to happen, right? We want to be true EV, true green. I mean, I'm still burning coal and using that power to charge my EV, and I'm saying that I'm sustainable. Okay, well and good. I think all of them have to be individually move and scale up at certain levels, and that's what's happening. But I think now is the time that we should start thinking on these levels, both as an industry, as an ecosystem, but also from the government and regulation perspective, that all these departments needs to work together actually.
And any safety challenges you are facing with respect to charging stations? Because day in, day out, we have seen a lot of accidents happening while running, as well as in showrooms like that.
Look, there are a lot of challenges which are there. Challenges are going to be there. Vandalism, the charging, people doing a lot of other stuff. The challenges are way multifold, which is there. And I think each challenge is being handled in a different sense. So challenges we are seeing, but I think overall optimization and efficiency, we want to bring in this ecosystem from end-to-end energy infrastructure perspective. I think these are some of the things which are needed actually.
Okay, thank you.
I think I have one question so it's here.
Yes.
So I'm Rajesh from SABIC. The question is, in the vehicle to grid model, especially when the AC power is not synchronized with the grid, so it's basically you are talking of an offline. Now, would you comment on the energy storage devices which needs to, get the power and store it before it's puts back on the grid? What kind of prevalent technologies are we talking about here when it comes to energy storage devices?
Look, energy storage, if you are asking me what kind of devices, look, at the end of the day, it's called battery only. The only thing is it's the different chemistries which are there where you are talking. Are you talking ESS, yes, energy storage systems, which are large battery banks, or are you talking about the individual small batteries? I think all of them boils down to energy storage is in one form, which is either lead acid,
Yeah.
lithium ion, sodium batteries.
Yeah, my question was more on the chemistry and the technologies.
Yes, so there are various chemistries. I think everybody across the world are still toying where you can get the most performance in the least size, which is there, which is very important when it comes to mobility part of it actually.
Yeah, the reason I ask this question is when you look at the discharge duration piece of it, in long discharge durations, you're not necessarily talking about lithium ion, because beyond a certain discharge duration, lithium ion loses its attractiveness. I'm talking more of the stationary, battery technologies which can give power back to the grid. So
I think there's a lot of work happening. If you are asking specific, we can surely, I can have more detail in terms of our chemistry expert who's there. But from storage perspective, what I see is that your charge-discharge cycle, which you get a better efficiency from mobility packs which are there versus static. I personally see that you will see that there's a normalization happening in the storage systems across the board. You will see that the mobility vehicles or mobility batteries which are there, after they've been used in mobility systems or EV vehicles, they will be used in the static systems also, till their end of life or recycling happens for those batteries actually. So considering the nature of these minerals and the scarcity of these minerals, the efficiency which we want out of these systems for overall system, I think there will be first life, second life, third life, and the first life would be mobility use case, then second life will be static use case, and third life then will happen actually. And this will happen purely for all the chemistries which you will start seeing actually. So I think that is what we see, but I think if there are any specific, we can surely have more discussion around it. I would also love to know the specific asks which are there.
Yeah, I just want to add to that your question. I think that question probably somebody can take in the panel which is coming up. So there's a lot of the discussion is going to happen. That's first panel, the charging infrastructure. I think somebody in the panel, somebody can take up that. If not, we can remind that question because mostly towards to the charging, right? So thank you,
Thank you
Mr.
very
Puneet.
much.